So, is this a new golden age for America? Trump, in his inauguration speech, promised nothing less than total renewal of the United States of America. And this speech was big on prosperity, energy, and even the exploration of the stars. Anyone who says populism is inward looking, angry, and pessimistic needs to take a reality check. Because this was an invocation of the pioneer spirit, the empire of liberty and manifest destiny. Trump has a mission for America. And the anti-civilization ideology that has gripped America and radiated out across the world has received a serious challenge. Trump has promised to put critical race theory, woke ideology, and gender ideology into the dustbin of history. But he's also promised to build and renew. America's going to drill, baby, drill. The automotive industry is going to build, 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 and American manufacturing is going to conquer the world. Or so Trump says. Because this was also a serious challenge to the world. Make no mistake, this is America first, and Europe's definitely not ready. Trump promises taxes and tariffs for anybody trying to compete with America. Overall, this was a call for God, glory, and a golden age, and I don't think anyone, not least our elites, is taking Trump as seriously as he means. So, is this a new American age? And is it America first and Europe last? John, what did you make of the inauguration speech and of Trump's program more generally?
First of all, as a dual citizen, I'm both an Irish passport and an American one. I have to say that my heart beat a little faster yesterday listening to the Armed Services Chorus singing America the Beautiful. There is something that was rather amazing about the peaceful transfer of power. We're not talking about a tin pot dictatorship. We're not talking about Venezuela. We're talking about even the stony-faced Democrats that were sitting there. There's something important about democracy happening, and that's what we were watching yesterday. Second thing, I think, is that many people are very cynical about politics these days, saying that, for example, no matter what the election result, the government still gets in. In other words, that we're not really looking at change. Talk about Obama talking about hope and change. At the very beginning of this presidency, with these executive orders, President Trump has delivered for the voters exactly what he promised during the election campaign. So what we have in an immediate sense is real change and an idea, as you've said, of hope that there is, as regards from an economic point of view, from a America First point of view. We're talking about America moving forward in a way that we've not seen in a long time.
Yeah, and this, a lot of people have compared this or contrasted this with both the inauguration of Biden this time around and also with Trump's first call. And in both, the Time lots of people wrote that Biden's speech was big on rhetoric, but kind of the ideals were very empty. They didn't have any kind of policy to back them up. And I don't think that's true this time with Trump. But the contrast with the first Trump presidency, I also think is really interesting because that was, there was the whole, the kind of the allegations about the rigging and all this kind of stuff that was part and parcel of Trump the first time around. He struck a different tone this time, and as you say, it's a bit more forward-looking. Do you buy that? Do you think it's a more optimistic kind of Trump?
Yeah, I think it's a totally different President Trump than the first time around. I think, first of all, he's more experienced. The first time I felt that he didn't particularly know what he was doing, and he surrounded himself with people who were not that experienced, not that knowledgeable. This time around, I think he's had time to think. I think he's changed. I think he's moved forward with his thinking about what exactly needs to be fixed, and he's determined to put it into action in a way that I think we've never seen before.
And I've said about the kind of promises about manufacturing and automotive and endless amounts of oil and gas for America. Do you think there's any? It's such a big promise, right? I'm going to revive American manufacturing. I'm going to make us kind of no longer an importer and become an exporter. Is he serious about this? Can he make it happen?
I think he can make it happen. And I think he will make it happen. And I think it's going to change not just what's happening in the United States, but I think in Latin America, with China, with Europe, I think people are going to have to respond to this in some way because of the competition elements. So, what does it mean for the European Green Deal if European products, European businesses are just not going to be competitive in the world market anymore. Because I think that the type of change he's making are going to have an opposite and equal effect in other parts of the world.
And yeah, let's talk about that then. This is a kind of America throwing down the gauntlet to the world, and there's going to be tariffs to make sure America comes first, and it's clear that companies are going to get preferential treatment. He's said that TikTok's going to be allowed back if they form a joint venture in the US, which is kind of a mirror image of what happens for companies that want to compete in China. Well, this is a dangerous or worrying, or is it just a difficult moment for Europe?
I think it's more than a difficult moment for Europe, because I think that you've got people here in Brussels who really want to double down with the Green Deal, with tech censorship, with a very sort of backward view about energy. We need less energy. We need to consume less. This type of thinking that's been going on here for the last couple of years in Brussels is still, it's embedded in the systems. What's going to happen when it begins to bite hard in European countries? It begins to bite hard for the cost of living in European countries, for employment in European countries. What's going to be the backlash against the Euro elites here in Brussels, who are going to insist that they are going to continue to plough this furrow when really America is going to make it very difficult for them to hold that line and be able to put bread and butter on the table.
Yeah, and on this issue of tech censorship, there's this revival, I think, in Trump and Musk kind of rhetoric of the empire of liberty. If America exists to spread liberty across the world, and it seems that the tech sphere is a big part of that for Trump 2.0. That you saw Mark Zuckerberg's kind of fealty pledge where he said he explicitly said we're gonna work right across the world to roll back censorship. This is part and parcel of Trump's vision, and the EU elites are already really worried and scared about this. Even today, we've seen stuff around they're going to launch a supposed democracy shield that's going to protect us from bad American tech companies. What do you make of this? Is this like a new kind of American mission? And is that wholly positive? Is that negative? Do we welcome parts of it? How do you react to this?
I welcome the idea. I think that, from a free speech point of view, it surprises me, to be honest with you, to see conservatives being at the forefront of the advocating for free speech, and Fortress Europe being the ones who really are trying to shore up and trying to stop this from happening. One would not have imagined that maybe many years ago. The idea that more conservative voices would be the ones that are, really heralding liberty. I think the danger in Europe is that Fortress Europe, can it hold up? We've already seen a swing towards more conservative right-wing parties in Europe. So the establishment is definitely one that supports the European elites. But with the politics changing in Europe, how long will it take for Fortress Europe to begin to show some holes?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the question I want to end on and reflect on is that lots of people, Orban has said it, lots of other leaders have said it, said Trump provides like wind in the sails for populists right across Europe, and things that were considered inconceivable, such as sending large amounts of deportations of migrants home, of people who've committed crimes, things that are unthinkable to EU elites, and now very much part of the political narrative because Trump is going to do them, or is going to try to do them. How do you think this changes the kind of balance of power in Europe?
I think that I think we're looking at an elites who are really hanging on to power, hanging on to what they had in the past. And we're looking at a new leadership emerging among the more conservative populist movements. So I think that there's a real struggle. There's going to be a real fight. I think it really helps that Trump is putting forward the type of policies that more conservative groups agree with. But I don't think we can be naive. It is America first. And I think conservatives need to be aware of that and need to be cautious about that.